I went to school for computer engineering. Dang, that was almost an accident.
Yeah.
And then I was really interested in real estate.
Yeah.
My boss had 5 rental properties, and I was already saving like 50% of my salary, but putting it in the stock market because I just felt really really passionate about like time is on your side. You want to start investing as early as possible. Okay. And so I lived very frugally. I had 3 roommates, drove a rusty car, and I was like, hey, why do you have rental properties? And he said that they'll always cash flow. He wanted to retire by the time he was 40. Thought that sounded pretty good. And at the time, my stocks, they go up and down. So he's like, the rental properties will always cash flow no matter what, especially in Indianapolis, where the property value is kind of like a bond. It just steadily goes up. Rents go up. If you manage it well, he was like, you'll be in good shape. So I went looking for rental properties, couldn't find any. And I heard if you want to find one that cash flows, you need to find an off-market deal. Yeah. And so I started doing that. Missed out on what I thought could be a great deal because I wrote it down, but I didn't follow up and reach out. And I saw somebody else bought it. Could have been a great deal. And that's when I got the idea for making what turned into DealMachine, but the ability to pin the house on the map, send mail to it right when you're in front of it. And then, of course, now we have all that contact data in DealMachine. So what DealMachine does is much more than that. But that's how it started 8 years ago. So I was getting a property myself. That's why I made the app. It was just for a tool for myself. And so that's why I got most of my properties run down, fix them up. They're better deals that way, and they have less maintenance that way. And then this past year was the first year I started doing something different, which is when I made all those offers on like listed properties. It worked out okay, I would say, so far.
Yeah. How many did you get off that strategy?
5 this year, 5 this past year.
Nice. And you are liking the single family approach, or are you doing any multi?
No, I've not done any multifamily. On the small scale of a duplex or a quadplex, I know everyone thinks it's nice because they share a same roof, and that's more cost effective, but they rent for lower dollar amounts. So I don't want to have a bunch of tenants below $1,200, and I don't know many duplexes or quadplexes that would rent above $1,200 in Indianapolis. Yeah. So for the single family, to me, it's more efficient because they're a little bit higher dollar. And that way I get paid more for the conversations I have or inspections I have to do, or, they're just hopefully a better tenant as well, more stable, less issues, less complaints. Yeah. So that's the idea and why I've kind of found this sweet spot with the single family homes that I do have.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Because if it's $400-$600 a month tenants, yeah, they do have the same roof, but now it's like 4 different people I have to talk to, communicate with, approve, whatever, renew. So I'd rather be more efficient with my management tasks that way.
My first mentor was this guy named Austin Rutherford from Ohio. And
I've met Austin.
Yeah, okay, so he's a single family guy, and he owns a little bit of multifamily, and he's expanded now, but his whole business is built on that, and that's a lot of the same reasons. Mm-hmm. And then the ability to exit those too, because they're
more liquid.
They're not investment properties. Yeah, they're a little bit more liquid. So a lot of people like that they can get in and out of those deals faster because it's pretty easy to just throw them on the MLS, and mm-hmm. In maybe 45 days or so you can be out of the deal. So yeah, pros and cons to each. That's good.
And you're on your road to 100 rental properties.
Yeah, I'm at.
What's the big goal with it for you?
I just wanted freedom of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really into, I'm not out for the Lambo. I want to do creative work. So for me, I have a passion of making music. And,
oh, wow.
And then also I went through a period of time in my life where I wasn't visiting friends and family. Everybody was super far away. Like I couldn't afford flights. I couldn't get time off. Even if I had the money, I still couldn't do it. I had no time and no money. So
what were you doing for work?
I did a variety of things, but most recently, before I went full-time into real estate, I was doing IT support. So, and I worked up a little bit in that to where I was managing projects and such, but I always ended up working for companies that didn't pay real well, and the stress was crazy. I was just putting out fires constantly. I was constantly fixing things and never building or improving. And so that's one thing that I love about real estate is that I get to build new stuff and improve stuff. It's a much more proactive type of business, and I love that, where I can make a difference instead of just always putting out fires. So yeah, between the stress, it was, hurting my health and my happiness, and then just not picking good employers, which was totally on me. That was my fault for not picking better jobs. But yeah, man, just saw this as a way of like, okay, I can take my time back. And the time that I do spend is spent doing really cool stuff. Like adding air conditioning, to a home is so cool, man. Like I didn't grow up with air conditioning. I grew up in rentals, never had that. Now I get to do that on every one of my units. I just think that's awesome.
That is cool.
Make people's lives better through real estate. So yeah.
Hey, your houses didn't have air conditioning?
No.
In Fort Wayne, it gets pretty hot in the summer.
When I grew up, I grew up in Milwaukee.
Yeah, they don't all have it there.
They don't have too much. Not in Wisconsin, yeah.
Still gets warm there. Might get in the 80s, right?
Still gets warm, yeah. But
so, okay, where are you at with it now so far?
Up to 48 units, man.
You have 48?
I'm 48, yeah. Damn. Halfway there. Yeah, man.
How do you acquire properties without running out of cash? How do you go from not having cash to travel to buying and acquiring 48 rentals?
Yeah, man. My strategy is partnering. So, my very first one, I did myself. So I did save up the cash with my W-2 for a down payment and then some runway in case there were, emergency repairs and things I had to do. And then what I did is I used that for two reasons. One, as a proof of concept to myself that I could actually go out and do this business. And then secondly, I had a track record of some kind that I could take and show other people. And that's really what I learned before I got into the business is like, you're able to partner with people a lot easier if they know that, you're out doing stuff, you're a winner, you can execute. If you've got something to show them, it's really great. So I owned my first door for 1 year while I continued working my W-2 job. So I had income at that point, and of course I was able to save up for the down payment. After that point, what I did is I leveraged the results of that deal. I showed people the ROI and some of my other metrics after having a tenant in for 1 year. And I didn't ask for anything. I didn't ask for partners. I didn't ask for money. I just showed people, and I got really good feedback. And I had a couple people in my friends and family circle say, hey, the next time you do something like this, let me know.
Was that a rundown house that you fixed up and then put a tenant in?
Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah,
nice.
I actually bought that house at auction. I definitely don't recommend doing that on your very first one. It was so nerve-wracking.
You have to have cash for the whole house at an auction. So again, how'd you get that cash? Or
I didn't have to have cash for the whole house.
Oh, really?
No, you just need a cash down payment that's non-refundable the day of.
Oh,
so
wow.
I had that in my pocket. Okay. It was real low.
I guess it depends on the city.
It depends on the auction house,
yeah.
Really, is how they do it. And so a lot of the auction homes, auctioneers here, at least in northern Indiana, they just require a down payment, and then they require, if you're not going to use all cash, they want to see a letter from the bank. So I had a letter from the bank ahead of time saying that I was approved to buy the property. And I prepped for the auction. And I had gone to a couple of auctions, actually. And this was like the third auction I went to. And
nice. Live
in-person auction, bidding tens of thousands of dollars.
How does a bank give you the approval if they don't know what the inside of the house condition looks like?
They had some type of conversation. So the auction house has realtors. They're like licensed realtors in-house, and that's what gives them permission to list and all that. So they had some kind of conversation with the licensed agent who provided them all the disclosures, the photos, all that stuff. So we didn't have to do anything ahead of time. So it wasn't
a rundown house, really? They were just foreclosing on it because they couldn't pay?
No, it was actually a situation with some elderly people. And I believe one of the owners had passed away and the other was moving into a retirement home. And the kids were remote, distant, so they just wanted to dump the house as quickly as possible. They knew about the auction house. They dealt with them before. So they just decided to say, hey, auction it off, highest bidder, and we're just done with it. Because they can be done with it in 7-10 days.
Got it.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.